to 40 Pints, where we drink like the booze is free. Today we have our Director of Digital Marketing, Kelsea Pearce, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about what she does here. So the first thing that we always start off with, Kelsea, is the drink of choice and why you chose it.
Sure. So I brought a Cabernet Vanderpump. I love wine. Cabernet is probably my favorite. And then I thought, what was a wine that I could bring that like had a story or anything? So this brand is from Lisa Vanderpump from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Perfect.
So any Real Housewives fans or Lisa Vanderpump fans, she has like her biggest is a rosé, but I wanted to get this one because I love Cabernet. They really don't sell like anywhere. I had to go to Union to find it, and It was like the last 2 bottles in stock. So here
Awesome.
it is.
Well, thank you for bringing it. I'm sure you use the company card anyway.
Yeah. It's always on me.
So someone pegged you for a white wine girl, and I want to know your thoughts on that. And I won't say who in the room, but it did happen.
No, I do not drink white. Well, actually, it started because I used to have not an allergic reaction, but I just didn't react like great to white wine. I would feel pretty terrible. So I just stopped drinking it altogether. And then I got so used to and loved red wine. Honestly, I've just, like, if white wine is all you had, I will drink it, but it's not my go-to.
By the way, like a hot day, nice cold glass of white wine, who's going to complain?
But you'll never go to my house and see a bottle of white wine.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm definitely red before white. So tell me a little bit about your first job and your current job.
So my first job was also marketing. My first, real job, professional career, but it was at a very, very small agency. I was doing kind of just whatever was thrown in my lap type of thing. So I was sort of their copywriter. I was their SEO person, but when I started, SEO was not what SEO is today.
Sure.
So I wasn't doing too much into that. I was doing their social media, and then I was also kind of doing just some account management. So smaller accounts, I was their go-to point of contact. I was doing their email marketing. I was doing everything, but I don't feel like I was honing in on anything.
Gotcha. And what do you do now?
Now I do everything in a different sense. No, but I feel like when I came to Kraus, I was able to really learn more of everything that I was doing, and then I was able to focus more in copywriting and SEO and that kind of stuff. And now, over the years, my role has changed in exactly what I'm doing, but it's constantly learning new things, constantly growing. And now my role here is less production, less writing, less this, that, and more managing a team, more growing the company, more thinking big picture.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm going to ask you the same question about digital and meaning the internet. Your first time using the internet, I don't know, you're probably young enough where it just was naturally part of your life. But what was the first things you did on the internet?
Yeah, so using the internet when I was a kid, as many people my age can relate, is you couldn't go on the internet for too long because it shut the phone lines down.
Yeah, for sure.
So, mom had to be on the phone. Yeah. You couldn't be on the internet.
Oh, okay.
The first thing I did was probably...
So you were AOL days?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The first thing I really used the internet for was Neopets. So shout out Neopets to whoever played that. It was a big deal. They taught me how to code. I was doing HTML, It's the kind of stuff where it was all you really had.
Yep.
So you learned to do it, and you wanted to be good at the internet because it was I don't know, it was cool to have it.
For sure. I was doing Sims.
Love Sims.
And I was in chat rooms.
Yeah. Neopets, which it's a kid's site, but there's a lot of people on there.
Yeah, for sure.
There were chat rooms on there too, so that was my first experience into an internet chat room.
Yeah.
Which also reminds me.
Well, let's not digress too much. That's for your therapist.
That also reminds me of AIM. That was that was huge in middle school for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was in college. So now you're leading a team of digital marketing, right? So that's pretty cool because you started on the internet when it was really its most basic thing, right? And now you're leading a team of digital marketing. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on those trends, but before we get into that, tell me a little bit about going over the last several years from being a junior to being a director. How did that journey look?
Yeah, so as a junior, it's practicing your skills and it's showing ambition for moving up. And once you you have a path in mind, the company has a path in mind for you, I think that makes it the easiest to grow. So I kind of hit several different areas of digital marketing where I was just doing like copywriting at first and then really integrating SEO into my writing. Did a little bit of PPC and then started getting into more technical SEO stuff. And then social media, I was not necessarily like the go-to person here for that, but of course, secondhand pick up everything we're doing.
Sure.
And just kind of making my way through things where I was able to call myself a manager and now a director, and I wasn't clueless on things that are going on. So even though I might not be the one who's producing all the deliverables up front, I'm doing some, and then I'm also overseeing everything, and I understand ABCD.
Yeah. So whether you're an entrepreneur and you have your first employee, or you're a manager in a company and you have your first employee, there's always that moment when you have your first employee. And I remember mine was after I had my company, even though I had a corporate career, I never had a direct report. Tell me a little bit about having that direct report and then how growing the team has looked for you.
Yeah, so I remember her name was Holly. Shout out Holly if you ever see this.
Holly?
She was actually my intern over the summer, I believe, and right around the time when she was graduating, you had given me the permission to actually like bring on a full-time team member and start growing kind of my own little department within digital. The way it was structured back in the day was, different than it is now. So I hired her, and she was really, my first experience I was able to have that one-on-one connection with her because that was my team at the time, which I think was super beneficial in just giving me the skills I needed to train someone without feeling like too overwhelmed at the same time. And then from there, a couple more, and now I have a team of like 8 people, and it's just cool to see growing from one person to like 7 or 8 and having them do different things, and then just being able to kind of guide them to their strengths, like where they see themselves, where the company is in need of a certain role or certain talents, and just watching that grow.
So you also do a lot of recruiting as well.
Yes.
So whether it's for your department or another department, what is your most important things when you're recruiting someone? How do you go about it? What's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, so once, you find someone who obviously skill set matches enough or you want to have a talk with them, maybe a couple rounds of interviews, something that's really important in an agency life, Krause in general, is culture. It is important. So you need someone who is not just to vibe with everyone, but it's important culturally too for people that are going to work well with our clients, people that understand that agency life it's hectic. It's not just like you sit at your desk all day and like, this is my job. It's like things are getting thrown at you all the time. So it's someone who that you're comfortable working with, that they're going to pick up on the skills that are needed. They can have a conversation with a client when needed. So definitely, it goes beyond a resume. And I think that's just kind of a classic thing you see nowadays, but it's true, is like, don't hold specifically what's on the resume to the person, because ambition is 80% of it sometimes.
So how do you decide what's on the resume to what the person is? Can you put it into words? Because I know it's a bit nuanced, but what's the difference between what's on the resume and who they are?
So on their resume, sometimes you actually might write them off. It might look like they've had one position that had, say you're looking for like email marketing and social or something like that. You might see like one instance and you're kind of like, I don't think they have, dived into this enough, or this is the role that I'm looking for. But maybe something catches your eye, you have a conversation with them, kind of in the back of your mind thinking, I'm not sure how well this person is matching the description of the job. And then you get into an interview and it's just, you're uncovering things left and right. Like if you can have a good repertoire with them, and then also they're going to start talking about past experiences where it might not have said on their resume that they went into Facebook Ad Manager and did all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you have a whole conversation on it. It's like, oh, so you are kind of connected to this, and sometimes, like I said, it's like a personality thing where you're like, this is really good for our clients. They have they're able to hold a conversation.
Right.
They understand when they're talking about when it comes to analytics.
Yeah, and it's funny, and so you bring up analytics at the end there, but so I think in a world of data and analytics, like even the MLB is now ran by analytics and data, and of course we run all of our reporting, and our clients would like to see and need to know that there's an ROI, and the world ran by data and analytics leaves out the whole entire personal communication, but the ability to utilize your gut to make a decision on a person, and also for that person to have an innate ability to prove to you, just because what's on my resume doesn't make perfect sense for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I still might be the best person for the job.
Yeah. And specifically here at Krause, like what makes us so great is our ability to really work with clients personally, and it's not just like us churning out numbers from a robot that's here's your stats this week. And so having that best of both worlds where we're pulling the data, but then the person presenting the data to you, is capable of truly explaining this on a human level, because I think that's not there for a lot of agencies.
And I think ambition's a lot of it too, right? And personality and motive, like, and what they want, right? I think
and just the drive,
selflessness and drive. I think it's there's a lot that rolls into hiring the right person, and I think a lot of times people have a checklist of what they want to see on someone's resume. Yeah. And when you give someone a shot, sometimes you see something different. But you've had a very high percentage of success with hiring people. So I think that's interesting to learn that. As far as leadership goes, you took recently a psychology of leadership class. So talk to me a little bit about what that taught you.
Yeah, so it finishes in March.
Okay, cool.
It's basically like a different topic every month that you do it on. And it really just teaches you, some of the stuff seems like it's obvious or instinctual, but when you're doing this every day, you don't even realize you're doing these habits or you're looking at people a certain way. Yep. I would say just a few key takeaways. One is airtime in a meeting. So once again, sounds so simple, sounds so obvious, but it's so important to give everybody airtime. If not, kind of what's the point of having them in the meeting? You're wasting their time. You're not letting them speak. And of course, some people are not as aggressive as the others. So they might have a lot to say, and if you don't call on them or give them that platform, it could just be a totally missed opportunity. Yeah. And missing a lot of opportunities leads to possibly unhappy employees. So it's really important to give them that platform.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of times we start meetings, but I see it, corporate world in general, and it's a simple tactic, but starting out with, hey, what do you hope to get from this meeting? Yeah. And going around one by one. That simple opportunity for someone to say something is them feeling part of it. Exactly. You don't ever give them that. Yeah. What else?
Another thing, and this is actually what the class I'm taking currently is about, and it's what drives behavior. So someone shows up late, right? They're a half hour late. Your first instinct is why you did this or because you're like that, right? We have these things. It's just how the human brain works. So you have to think of it that there's individual factors, there's social factors, and there's situational factors. And you should train your brain that when something happens or you have a weird interaction, right? You say bye to someone, they don't say bye. And your first instinct is rude, but they could have just not heard you. They could be running late to a doctor's appointment. Right. So you have to train your brain to automatically come up with 30 different scenarios before you blame someone for something. And I think that's just really important because I think a lot of in companies, especially larger companies where they're not really, maybe they don't have personal connections, it pretty much creates a poor relationship between maybe a manager and someone else.
It could happen in any situation, but I think that's a great example for relationships in general. We're all raised differently. We all have different things, outside forces, inside forces that are happening to us at all points of the day. Right. So to take anything too personally doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and then that kind of ties into another thing, which is basically the self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you see someone in a poor light for one reason or another, and maybe you continue, you can't let your mind stay on that track or you're never going to create the relationship you want. You're never going to train that employee in the way that you want if you just keep seeing that negative thing and because you saw it once, you see it 10 times. You have to get out of that rut or you wouldn't be a good manager if you didn't get yourself out of that rut.
Yeah, well, and so that goes into Napoleon Hill says it's self-talk. It's if I look at you and I say, whatever, say negative things about you, then that's how I'm going to see you.
Right.
If I look at you and I say positive things and all the positive things, then I'm going to see you that in that light as well.
Right. Yeah. So
and
the
self-fulfilling.
employee,
Yeah. And the employee feels it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like if you are creating that negative behavior, then they are too, and they're like, well, why would I try on my next assignment if everything I've ever done, you don't have positive feedback type of thing. Yeah.
No, it's
really important to keep in mind.
That's cool. Anything else that you learned?
I think those are key takeaways for now.
No, those are good though. I mean, it's funny because like you said, sometimes learning after like school, you're like, oh, what am I going to learn? A lot of times learning is just like, just confirming some of the thoughts that you naturally had previously, or things that you're doing well, but you really didn't know it until someone says it. And I think a lot of these classes and courses that are sometimes 2 months, 3 months, 2 hours, 4 hours are so extremely helpful. And I think a lot of people avoid them or just don't think that they're going to find anything out. And all they're going to do is find out, sometimes they're going to find out things are doing really well, and some things that could be catastrophic. So why don't we jump over to digital marketing? So obviously leading a team of 8 and, kind of broadly a larger team than that. Talk to me a little bit about the different trends that you're seeing.
Yeah, so one thing pretty much everyone in our department has to do is really integrate video into everything. So in general, we, video, full steam ahead type thing.
Right.
You can't do anything online these days without seeing video. So it's really huge even for our social media team. So this is organic posts on the feed. This is the ads we do. We're doing TikTok. It's all video.
Yep.
For SEO, we switch up a lot. Instead of constantly giving people a blog, they have the option to do a video blog, basically, where we might do like an FAQ, or it's an important topic. Someone at the company can record it. We can format it to be SEO friendly, and it's just different things you can do to really get your website seen.
Yep.
Video does really well in the search engines.
Yeah, I see video as like, it's that next thing it is the thing right now that could really separate yourself from the competition. I remember when we started the company, people would be like, oh, well, I know some companies need a website, but I don't really need one.
Right.
Because that's just not how lawyers do business, or how this industry does business. I think people would feel really ridiculous saying that anymore. I said it about search engine optimization. In fact, I still hear people say, no, well, I understand why some people have to be found online, but no one would find me online. Well, of course not, because you're not trying to be found online, right?
You'd be shocked what people are looking for online.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, seriously. That's funny. So then there's social media marketing. People are like, well, I understand why some people have to have a social media presence, but I don't have to have a social media presence. And then a tactic within that is video, and there was long form content, there's short form content. But a tactic within those tactics are video. And people are like, well, I see why some people are doing video, but I don't need video. Well, the reason you need video is because not everyone's doing video. And that's why you need it.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a whole consumer base that is only interested in watching video. And I used to read directions to do do-it-yourself stuff at home, like to fix something on the roof or in my car.
Yeah.
Why would I do that when I could have somebody explain it to me instead of like skim through like 200 words? I just watch this dude kind of tell me the most important points of putting on brake pads.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, video is enormous. And
it's not too late to start.
Not too late.
People think, it's too late.
And it's pretty inexpensive.
It's not,
And it's pretty easy to do.
Definitely.
But not everyone's doing it.
No, one day.
Yeah. So social media, because I think social media is kind of a hot point. Talk to me about the different platforms and where you see different platforms doing better than others.
Yeah, so I mean, Facebook, we all love to hate Facebook, but it's here. It's still a platform you should put yourself on. There's still people using it all the time. That's where a lot of ad spend goes, but it's important that your money is, it's getting seen. Your ads are getting seen by people for it. Obviously Instagram, a lot of B2B, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not for everyone, but there's, that key demographic it's for. As I mentioned, TikTok. Yeah. So that is...
Speaking of video.
Yeah, speaking of video, TikTok. And that's a whole nother beast compared to, the other platforms that we do. But it's something, get yourself on if you think that it might work. And even if it doesn't, I mean... I'm not on TikTok myself, but I know the trends that are out there and I see it from different people, and it's not just for influencers. There's random companies that you would think would never be on TikTok, but they're trending because they made a really funny video,
Right.
and now people know of their brand.
Yep. And by the way, it happened with every single one that we're talking about,
Exactly.
and every tactic that we talked about, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, I see why some people need TikTok, but I don't need TikTok. Now it's the quickest growing social media channel with the highest engagement per user
Yep.
out there. So we might want to pay attention to it sooner than
Yeah.
later. For sure, yeah. It's now, of course, it's not going to be easy, and of course, not everything you do on it's going to make sense. But as long as it's intentional with your brand in mind, then it's probably not going to hurt.
Right.
You know, so I think it's something very, very important to pay attention to. So I really enjoy this conversation, and one thing that I wanted to do with you is a lightning round.
Okay.
So before we did that, I was just hoping to have a sip or two of wine, and then we'll come back and we will do a quick lightning round of about 10 or 12 questions.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So Kelsey, there's obviously a lot of people trying to get into the agency life or in-house, working, you know, with one specific brand. Is there any advice you have to give someone maybe coming out of college or even someone trying to transition in careers to get into this field?
Yeah. I would say don't say no to any open door. So, you know, I'm in a position now that I didn't foresee 5 years ago, right? You're not maybe thinking that far ahead, or, you know, you don't get hired thinking, oh, I'm going to learn SEO now. Don't say no. If the opportunity is given to you, and
In some situations, say
well,
no.
yes, but if it feels right,
yeah.
like if it's something you don't hate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't say no. Like, don't let that opportunity that could lead you. And you have to think, like, that isn't the final step. So maybe you do
Agreed.
something, obviously don't do something you don't like, but maybe you do something that's like, okay, this is going to get me to my end goal. And
I agree.
that's how you have to look at it.
No, I agree. And I think at worst, what you do is you have a bigger spectrum of skill sets that you can
Right.
provide to the next, you know, future career.
Yeah, and that's digital marketing is like, it's changing every single day.
Yep.
We constantly have to learn new things. So by having a shut off view of it, you're not going to thrive.
So, and I would take it, I would give another one or two things is the amount of people that walk in here for an interview that don't understand Google Analytics. I think that's like a pretty easy thing to understand. It's like understanding analytics, right? It's like looking under the hood and knowing, you know, where the engine, I don't know, I'm going to use bad analogy there, so because I don't know enough under the hood, but Google Analytics, I think, is one thing that you could learn. I think you could learn the basics of SEO, and I think you can learn the basics of website design as just some starting points, and you don't have to know everything about everything. But I do agree that some people are like looking for something very specific and niche, but they could just get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then growth is available for them from
Yeah.
there.
And something like I hear a lot in interviews is they're honest. They'll say, I'm not a master at that, but I've poked around in it. I know I can learn it. I'm willing to learn it.
Right.
And that is enough most of the time.
Yeah.
If this is not like a senior role that
Right.
you are hiring for,
Yep.
they know what the platform is and they want to learn. So
Yeah, Westcott, our lead developer, he said to me when I hired him, and he was the first employee, I go, so what do you think one of your best skill sets are? And he goes, well, every time someone tells me to figure something out, I just figure it out. I'm like, cool, well, I have an e-commerce website that we're building. I need you to figure it out. He's like, okay.
yeah. And look at him now.
So, all right. So what I want to do is fire off some questions to you. And I don't want you to think about it much.
Okay.
And I don't want you to take more than 2 to 5 seconds to answer them. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. They're easy. Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Do you have a dream client?
Oh, I guess a really cool alcohol brand.
Nice.
Liquor brand. It'd be fun.
Favorite type of White Claw?
Kind of over White Claws, if we're being honest, but I guess the lime one.
Horror flick or comedy?
Both. Can I say both?
Sure. Do you think aliens exist?
Yeah. I don't know. I need to expand on this one. I'm sorry. I don't overthink this. I don't think too much into it, but yeah, why not?
I mean, I agree. Hobby? Do you have a hobby?
Yeah, I like to reading is like, so my goal this year is 1 book every month at least.
Nice.
I really enjoy reading. Traveling. It's pretty classic,
Yeah.
but I love to travel. Yeah.
Climb a mountain or jump off a plane?
Climb a mountain.
Yeah.
I have no instinct or need to want to fly out of or jump out of a plane.
Cool. I'm just going to make this one up, desserts or entrees?
Entrees.
Awesome.
100%.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving a chat with me and talking about some of the digital trends and also about how you've come so far in your career so quickly and all the leadership things that you've done here. And I also appreciate you as an employee too, by the way. So thanks so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Cheers.
Cheers.